are back in the house, not out on the water. We were out on the water. We did a little test casting with our Steez TW HLC, right? Hyper long cast, and we were disappointed. It didn't fall apart. We tore it apart, and we're gonna do a little experiment. I know. Somebody's like, oh, here we go. So if you've never tore down a Daiwa spool, taking this, used to call it a rotor inductor. It's more like a drum instead of a rotor. So I guess we should call it inductor maybe. I don't know what the term they use. I don't even know what these little pads are for. To be honest with you, other than they do go here, and I'm not sure if you guys know what they actually do, why they have these on here. Feel free to comment. As you can tell, we don't know what we're doing for sure, but we're going to do it. Right, we're going to bro science and put this thing. Here's what we're going to do. We're not. I just brought it out just to compare some of the stuff, but this is the Steez limited shallow spool. We're not touching this baby. We're leaving it alone. It works perfect. But then here's our Zillion, which is still probably just the best all-around spool. Like, let's face it, it just works. And then this turd, 36 millimeter. If you're gonna, just what it says, hyper long cast, but we don't want that. We want to make long cast, but we also want to be able to use it for, we don't want every cast, because literally, if you guys were watching yesterday, you can go back and watch that video. Unless you put like a lot of force into that spool, it'll backlash. Otherwise, you got to turn it way up, like all the way to 20, and still cast pretty hard because it won't get any distance, and it still doesn't get much distance. That is not a very good, in my opinion. Maybe for 2 to 5 ounce baits that are very aerodynamic, you know what I mean? Your bigger, the biggest like whopper ploppers, topwater baits, maybe 10XDs, just crazy, all big only, I guess. But yeah, kind of head I wish I had not bought this reel. Probably so. Probably should have got just another one of these, spent the extra money and got another limited. But I do like the looks, and it's going to look good. It does look good. It's going to work good once we're done with it. We're going to either fix it this way that I'm going to talk about, or we're going to redo it completely and fix it another way. And in case you're wondering, like, just because it's a 36 millimeter spool or just because it's a heavy spool has nothing really to do with a wild spool on a Daiwa anyway. It's all right in here. So what this one comes with is this, and I did weigh the spools with the line on them. This is like 16 and a 16.6, like almost 16 and a half, and this is like 19, and this thing's like 23, and it's not all the way. These are about as much line as you could put on them. Now this one's not quite, but this one definitely could hold more line, if you can see on this end. So definitely a heavier spool, being 36 millimeter, holds more line. It's just a heavier spool by several grams. But the inductors are different also. The springs are different, and we're going to get into that. But the inductors themselves, this is by far the skinniest. This is the thickest, and then this is somewhere in the middle. And I did check them, and I didn't just eyeball it. I don't have my batteries are dead, but I basically, here, I'll show you what I did. So if you can clamp that on there, you can't really read on the other part, but if I can put it on there and it fits, and it doesn't fit here, you know that's thicker, right? It's so then this one's the same. I can put it on here, but it won't fit here, and you can tell that one just by looking how thick that is. But what they've done, and that's why this one, when you can, the initial startup cast, let me just take those things off. You can cast a hyper long cast almost as hard as you want to cast with like 5 or 6 setting on the brakes, and it will not backlash. But what happens, and I'll try to show you by putting it back on, because when it's on, it still sets that same way. But what happens is it sets down, it's not going to set right, but it does set lower than these two. So it's got less, and let's compare the, going by feeling, looking at these two, I think this part and the springs, I was trying to feel them. I think the springs and the inductors themselves are the same length, but the thickness is what makes the difference. Why this one, if you guys remember right, on the Zillion, it kind of likes being right around 4, but I go to 3 and get that extra in a cast. But if you're throwing into the wind, or you throw a little too hard into the wind, you'll probably get a backlash. Let me get the hair out of there. And with this one, it kind of likes it around 8 or 9. It needs to be turned up a little more, even though it's a lighter spool, just because there's less of that inductor going into these magnets. Because when Daiwa does their, as you see, the differences are out here on the spool, on the inductor and the springs. I believe, now don't hold me to it 100%, every Daiwa reel, this part in here, the magnetic force isn't changed. So that is all the same. That's why you can kind of swap out spools. Now, I'm sure every magnet has its own little force over the year. You know, I'm not saying everyone's spec'd 100%, but I think that's nowhere in here does Daiwa do their tuning. I believe it's all out here on a spool. That's why you can kind of interchange spools throughout reels, and they're other than when they're 36 millimeter, not 34. So my thoughts are, let's move this dude out of the way. Since this one is already so low, I feel there's 2 ways I could fix this to where make it more usable for me and for probably most people that are going to use it. Because what happens is when that inductor comes out, so when it pulls, both of these are stiffer springs. So at a full hard cast, it comes out as far as it's going to come out. So there's enough of that, and it's thicker, that it's definitely applying some brake force, so it lets you get that extra hard cast, but then it jumps back in too soon. So there's kind of 2 ways. I could simply shim it where it stays out further, and I'm not sure how long, is it a millimeter, 2 millimeters, or whatever, and I'll show you on this one basically since it's still on. So I could, in a sense, bring it out to where the only part that's going to actually engage will be the boost. So basically the regular part, I could go ahead and shim it to where that spring is basically already collapsed, and then just a boost when I cast real hard is what's going to come out, but then it's going to go back in, but not any further to where it'll be applying some brake. It won't let this bigger, heavier spool just get out of hand, especially towards the end of the cast. Now, I mean, it's pretty simple to do. I would have to track down washers and stuff. But what I think I can also do that would honestly maybe even make this one a more, because some people will say that the SV is overbraked. So I'm almost positive. I don't know. I might be able to switch the whole thing, but I don't think I can. I may be able to like put this whole, keep the stiff springs, but put this inductor to that one and that inductor here with the soft springs. But I think it is easier, and I think maybe the only way to do it is put the soft springs over here on this inductor and the stiff ones back on this, and then try them. It's something I can change, and then I can change it back, I think. So I've torn this one apart. The only hard part about this whole thing is, you guys know, anytime there's a C-clip involved, things could get lost, things could go flying. So once you pull that out, it's pretty simple. Other than these 2 pieces need to be popped back on there. The longer spring slides over this. the shorter spring goes over here. This part slides into here, you know, when it's on the shaft, and then you have to push all that stuff down, put the washer on, and then put the C-clip on this little spot here, actually down here, that holds all that down and in there. So what I thought about doing is, if I use all this stuff, I can't really leave it. I mean, I could basically, you know, just figure out a way to basically make the softer spring either half or almost all the way collapse, and then the boost one leave alone to where it can still come in and out during the hard part, and it wouldn't choke it up all the way. Now you could honestly, I don't even know how it would work. You could also just rig it to where it's a fixed inductor where it doesn't move at all. You could switch out where it just comes all the way out, but that would definitely hurt your performance on the overall distance of casting. It's actually what I'm thinking about doing to this boat. If you guys remember this one, this is the one, kind of similar thing. I put it in that Zillion, and I can cast overhand, hard cast, and I was actually, this is throws a trout magnet further than anything I own, this spool. But if then I try to just do a little sidearm light cast, it backlashes, and it's kind of the same thing. This spring in there, this how lightweight that is. It honestly needs to be a little bit lighter, or it needs a little more. I could probably also switch out a different inductor out of like one of these or something else too, but then I might lose the distance. So today I think I'm going to go ahead and pull this one apart and see which way we can switch them, and then tomorrow night when I get off work, I'll try them, and if I don't like it, I'll switch it back. Or if we can switch it two different ways, then maybe I'll switch it again another way and try it just out on the water when I'm fishing on Saturday. Because luckily I have enough reels. If these two are like out of commission for me messing with them, you know, I still got the, well, all four of the lingual variants. I've got the Steez Limited, I've got the Bantam, I've got the two, well, the Dark Wolf Ultra and the Acura and the TD Ito. Like, we're reeled up. We don't have to have those reels if something were to happen. Like, if you're only one rod, one reel, couple rod and reels, you probably don't need to be messing with this kind of stuff, or if you've never done it. And these have come in handy, so handy on how I do this. So I think I'm going to do that. Let's just, what do you guys think? Let's just tear into it. Anybody say no? No, there's only two of you watching. Oh, did I explain? If in case you don't know what the boost, the difference, all the boosts that they've added, the Daiwa technology, took them 20 plus years. I'm not knocking them. It does, I feel it improves it a little bit. I kind of use this one because you can see in there. Some of them have what they call like a mag force or not, but basically these, up before the boost, I don't know if I can get this thing to focus. You basically had three types of the brakes that came on these. You either had what they would call like a fixed, you had some that just came out, or these ones that like rotate like that, right? I can't remember exactly what all the different names are. I'm not that big of a, like, I don't completely geek out on the Daiwa stuff, but it is, it's worked for years and years and years. So all they did when they added the boost part that they're calling boost is they took and they gave it another stiffer spring. So instead of whatever spring they were going with, you know, you'd cast real hard, or, you know, put a good solid cast in, this would come out. And a lot of guys claim that the SV one would just ride out that distance the whole way, like throughout the entire cast, so basically almost making it like a fixed inductor. So even on ones that were stiffer, you know, it comes all the way out, and in a short time it would go back in. So if you were basically limiting, the brakes were limited just by one, even though they're dynamic, and they moved inside the magnet, it was kind of limited. So the minute they added that 2 spring rates, basically, you became where you could cast it harder, it would come all the way out, and then it would go back in some, but not all the way, to help you towards the tail end of the cast, and then go, you know, back in somewhere towards the tail end of the cast is, in theory, what it's supposed to do, to get you the maximum distance with ease kind of thing is what the SV part of it is. And so the mag force boost is supposed to be basically the same thing, except this spring is stiffer. It's not quite as easy to, you know, doesn't stay out as much. So anyway, let's tear into this one and see how much of it is interchangeable. It should be, the springs should be for sure, probably this little inner piece that hold them together. But I'm not sure if these transfer over from spool to spool. We're going to find that out. The trick to this is you need to push it. First of all, you need to put your finger where this spring cannot go flying. Well, the springs will make this little clip go flying. So I kind of push down on that washer, and I use this basically as like one arm on each side to push that C-clip off. I'll try to be able to show you how I'm doing it, but I almost just need to worry about how to do it instead of if you guys can see what I'm doing or not. It's about as hard to get off as it is to put on. Come on. I'm sure they make a tool for this. It's about the right size to push this off. Okay. Okay, I got it. Where did it go? So then once that, oh, it's still shut off. Don't worry, we'll find it. So there's clips in there. Here's the other washer. Let's move them out of the way. Those are the same anyway. So we lost our boost spring. Our boost spring said, pew. Don't worry, we can find it. So let's take this off. So you can see that's different than this one right off the bat. There's no, these aren't in there anywhere. And that piece, so in here is definitely different. Let's just see. I'm not going to force anything. If it pops right out, we may try to take it out, but if not, we're not going to force anything beyond this point if we don't have to. It could probably be pushed out. So anyway, I'm going to assume that we're just going to leave this with this. We're going to check our springs and see if those, no, I think they're made a little different. Doesn't that look bigger around? Hey, we could double it up. It's almost what it looks like. Yeah, it looks like they've made them totally different. They're not going to let me do that. Let me find my other spring before I go crazy. I know it's in this room. It's here somewhere. If you guys see it, let me know. I've been having bad luck with Daiwa springs here lately. If you guys remember, I found this one while had my eyeball looking for springs. If you guys remember that nasty looking thing, that came in the Steez Limited on the opposite side. It was stuck up underneath. Where did that spring go? It's probably stuck on me. I know I'll find it. The trick is I gotta find it before I step on it, or it gets like smashed somehow. Don't go anywhere. Don't move. I'll be right back. Okay, can't be over there. Can't be over there. I'll find it. You're kidding me. It's probably stuck on my hat. Time out. I have to go do a little magnet fishing. Well, shoot. Hang on. I'm gonna find it. I know, it's a live stream. Stuff happens. It hit the floor. If it hit the floor, it's a goner. It couldn't have went that far. I had it, everything spaced and timed just right. Couldn't have went anywhere. This is ridiculous. Hang on. I'm still here. I'm looking. 1 minute before I abandon ship on the spring for during the live stream anyway. I'm sure I'll stop looking for it. As soon as I let you guys go, I'll find it. Huh. Not anywhere behind me. Well, I guess I might have to abandon it for now. Unless it bounced back and it's right. Somebody's probably staring at it. It's probably bounced right back up here somewhere, didn't it? Okay, well, let's just go with what we got, which we can see that I thought I could maybe put the softer spring in there, but it will not fit. Why they've made them like that? I guess for that reason, so people can't switch stuff around. Now somebody told me they thought they put a different spring in theirs. Maybe the HD's different. Maybe the SVs are by themselves. So maybe the MagForce Z boosts are different than the SV boost, is what I'm gathering. This is definitely like that's a way different spring, like night and day difference. I'll try to show you guys just by the weight. Yeah, I don't have anything that weighs enough to sit on it to show you how, like, that is so soft and then that's a lot stiffer. The other one, if I can find it, I think those are the same. I think all of the boost part is for a hard cast. I think the reason that spool you can cast even harder than you can with the others at a lower setting, because I was casting it like as hard as I could on 6, I think, and it like wouldn't backlash until then. Once it started to get out there very far, it was going so fast, then it would, like, the spool would start out, once that popped back out of the way of the magnets, that spool outrun the line. We were throwing 1/2 ounce. I'm sure if you have to go like ounce or heavier and something aerodynamic, then it kicks in. Well, our boost spring is toast. It's in lunar orbit. Yeah, Mark, I'm sure it's probably stuck on me, to be honest with you. Let me go, hang on, don't go anywhere. Let me go look in the mirror, make sure it's stuck on me somewhere. I think I could have, oh, get out of there. Oh, stuck on the dog. I gotta catch the dog. Dog ate it. He wants to come over and do a 24-hour surveillance on the dog till he goes to the bathroom. Well, I'm gonna look one more place. Hang on. No, not there. Give me a minute. Well, I can't find it, but I can assure you that as soon as I end this deal, I'll probably be like, oh, there it is, right there. So I can put back, actually, I could put back together whichever one of the two I wanted, because I'm pretty sure these are the same. But that one came out of the Zillion. So these pieces are totally different. I believe that's just plastic or ceramic, and definitely looks to be lighter. So what I guess I'm going to do after I find the spring is I'm going to basically try to shim this thing up. I just need to figure out roughly, how far do I want to shim that. Get in there. Oh my God. I know I'm not putting it all the way back together yet. I was just trying to get this piece to go down. Well, it goes down. I'm having one of those nights. I should have drank some Fireball. So anyway, yeah, it goes down there, and that keeps it from going like it doesn't. Wait a minute, what does that do? Let me see here. Okay, it's got the slots are for, there's a slot in here too, so it's slotted to where nothing turns. I see what it's slotted for now. So that goes in one way. Alright, I see how that goes. But anyway, it's as simple as I just get some, washer spacers, really. And shim that up to where the trick will be, though, is how far up. I guess what I should do is maybe, measure. It's probably only like another millimeter, so probably go millimeter increments and just have to put it all back together, millimeter higher, go test it, see if it like that. If it doesn't seem to change it or wasn't enough, go to 2 millimeters. I could probably always go like 0.5 millimeter spacers, shims, or whatever. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I got to track down, though, where I can find and get those to where something that'll fit in there that isn't too big and bulky. It has to go past the pin, but, just has to keep that from bottoming out. So whatever size that is, which is probably this. So I just need however many of those to add up to at least a couple millimeters, and then figure out from there. That's the plan. I'm sticking to it. Well, I'm going to get out of here because as soon as I do, I'm going to tear this place apart, and I guarantee I find that spring. I'm going to put this dude back together so I know I got the Zillion going again. And I'm definitely, let me put this, before I lose the spool and everything here. Let's put this back in here. Jeez. It's been one of those nights. Should have got some fireball. Should have got some fireball. But we didn't. No fireball tonight. Haven't had fireball in quite a while. That's probably what's wrong with me. Starting to get the shakes. Having withdrawals from fireball. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions, don't ask me. Call the tackle advisor. Now, what it looks like is they've kind of set these anyway to where the boost and the this and the that are totally different. So that kind of stuff won't interchange. They're selling something on AliExpress. I think it's just the aluminum part, but I don't know. I think it's just for these, the SV ones. I don't even know what the deal is. They went like $15 for it. I didn't buy one because I don't even know what for sure it would do. I bet you that spring landed back over here and all my part stuff over here that's I have to dig through. So yeah, we're going to make this thing workable for us. So now that that's a bust, before I get out of here, I will tell you guys, some of you guys I was talking about going and getting the, and so if you're worried about spools, that part's over with. We're just going to have a little talk real quick. For those of you that follow along with my rod and reel capers and what I'm looking at, thinking about getting what I already have kind of deal. I went back up to Rogers and I almost bought 2 rods and I didn't buy any. I think I'm just going to wait for these ones I talked about. They kind of look like the, they're kind of like the NRX knockoffs. Ordered 3 of them from AliExpress. $100 a piece roughly for 2 of them, and the other one was only like 45 bucks. I'm probably just going to wait for those to come in. They should be sensitive as long as the actions are right for what I'm going to use them for. They're 6'10", medium heavy, 6'8" medium, and then 6'9" medium light on the cheaper one, I believe. There are 2-piece rods, but I think I'll just wait for those because I almost bought the Poison Glorious, the Poison Adrena, and the 611 medium plus. I just can't quite, I couldn't talk myself into it. But they also had, and I should have bought, this is the rod I should have bought. They had that Lose up there, the black TP1 or whatever they are. They're like $130, $40 rods. And they had them on, like, for whatever reason, the one I was looking at is a 6'10" medium that was also medium heavy, I think it said. And it is so close to the Poison Adrena, like it was close on how it felt. It wasn't quite as light, but it was, they were still giving, they were going to allow me another 20% discount. That rod would have been like 80 bucks. I should have bought it, but the reel seat, I just can't make myself like some of them Lose reel seats. It's like they mush things even closer together than what these Carbon Light 2.0s do. But I almost bought that rod for 80 bucks, but if I may like these ones coming from AliExpress, and I won't even need that rod. I just sold that other rod, if you guys remember, I sold it to Matt for $25, a 7.2 medium moderate Lose, custom pro or whatever. It was a good rod. Had like a, not even a half an inch missing, I think, is off the tips, but you couldn't even tell that medium moderate like flexes so much throughout the entire rod. And it was already a 7'2", it was like a 7'1.5". Still an awesome rod. So I can't decide. I think I'm just going to wait. Unless I know 100% I want a rod, I'm not going to spend any more money on rods, reels, or anything for now. We're going to fish with what we got, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of still stay focused like we are on baits, because I was up at Rogers Sporting Goods. If you guys have never been to Rogers, you should go up there. I got a couple more goodies. I spotted again, even though I knew they were there. They've been there for like 5 to 8 years, ever since they came out. They got the Jackal Gantarels up there. the little one in a good gill color. I can't remember exactly what color. They've got the little one, the junior, for $31, and for $39 the bigger one, which I believe that's $10 cheaper than anywhere else you can go, roughly, on those. I should have bought the big one just to have it, but I'm gonna use these cheap knockoff ones we got from AliExpress for only like $3.50 just to do my swim bait deals. But they also have a Vision 110, basically a knockoff, in the Rogers House brand, which is in the Elegy Bone color, the Tennessee Shad color, and then the Pro Blue colors. I almost bought those because they're only $4.99. Like a good jerkbait, $4.99. Should be close to like what the RC Sticks is. And then they have the other, I can't remember the exact size, but like a 2-hooked jerkbaits in a couple of those good colors for $4.99 also. So basically I could have bought like 5 of them for $25, which is roughly the price of one. So I still probably will do that. Go up to Rogers. I already have like 8 or 9 coming from AliExpress. So I'm gonna get out of here tomorrow. Whatever I figure out and try to do with this tonight, possibly I'm gonna try to get out tomorrow to test it before I go out on the water fishing it. Because I think if I just get the brakes to stay somewhat engaged, just a touch on the end, I think I'll be okay. But we'll see. Worst case scenario, you can, that Japan Tackle, I think they're out of them right now, but he has some fix on it. He's selling you the whole spool, but something he's done that he claims fixes them with the whole spool. You could buy a whole nother spool. I don't have to do that. I'm going to fix it myself after I find that spring. So anyway, guys, I don't know. Tonight was kind of a bust, but stay tuned. A lot more coming. I'm out of here. Go out and whatever you do, if you're tearing apart reels, just make sure you have fun doing it. It'd help if we had Fireball. See you later.